Hey everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here. And welcome to another Makers with Heart video. This month, the theme for the Makers with Heart is how do I add color? Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 different cards with various techniques. So the first card, I'm going to use the layered flowers. And I'm going to start with all 3 cards with white daisy cardstock as a base for all of them, okay? So I've cut out a whole bunch of these layered flowers with white daisy, and then I'm also going to use Lovely Wishes and the Decorative Textures background die, okay? So I have all of these different shapes cut already, and I'm going to secure them down on an old used Cricut mat. So the first technique I'm going to show you is coloring with Distress Oxide inks. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of different colors. I'm going to pull some yellows and some purples and some greens. So this Cricut mat, it's no longer sticky enough to use with my Cricut machine. So I've cut it down into smaller sizes, and I'm using it to secure all of my images so that I can add color to them. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a couple of different purples. That's Villainous Potion and Lilac. And I'm using my all-purpose mat as a palette for these colors, and then I'm just going to add a little water to each of those colored sections. And I've just got water in that spray bottle, so just adding some to loosen up the color. And I'm picking it up with, these are blending brushes, and I got them off Amazon. They're really inexpensive, and so you can have a large number of them, so you can have one for each color that you use. And I'm just picking up color and then painting on each of these images. So I'm kind of, it's blending and painting. Just moving color around. So I'm going to have 3 pansies on the front of my card. So I'm coloring this one in a darker purple, and then I'll go in and pick up some lilac for that solid image and blend that around. Super easy technique and pretty basic. But this way you can use more than one color and blend them together on each of your images. So then the next layer is going to be the center. And I'm going to color that a really dark purple. So I'll take you through coloring one of each, and then we'll move on and I'll do the rest off screen. So color that center portion in, and then I've got some other pieces cut for the centers of the flowers. So I'll leave one white, and then the very center I'll color that one in yellow, and I'll bring in some coral as well. Kind of blend the 2 together. So there's the coral. It's hard to see it on the all-purpose mat, but there's a lot of ink when you squish the pad down onto it. Okay, and there's one flower all done. And now I'll bring in some greens, and I'll do the leaves real quick. So I think I have a pine color, and it's pine needles and mowed lawn, and I'm going to kind of blend the 2 together on this little branch. Pretty basic technique, and you can use any colors you want. Okay, so now I have a whole bunch of flowers and leaves all colored and ready to go. I'm going to bring in my cutting machine, and I'm going to die cut the Decorative Textures background on white daisy. So it's going to be a white on white. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp lovely birthday wishes in black ink on this strip of white daisy. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in a blending brush and I'm going to blend a light wash of color over that, and then I'll dovetail one end. And there's my sentiment. Okay, now it's time to start building the card. So I'm going to glue down that decorative textures to my card front. And it's a regular A2 base. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Just putting small dots of glue and then a line of glue around the edges. Get that down. And then I'm just going to lay out my flowers and leaves on the front. That'll be my general design. I'll show the assembly of one flower and then I'll skip ahead. So I'm just using small dots of glue, and for this one I'm going to kind of offset it off that base, and then I'll put down the dark purple and I'm going to offset that as well. And then the center, the white piece, and then the yellow and coral piece in the middle. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead. Everything is assembled, and I've kind of laid everything out on my card the way I want it to be. And I'm just going to quickly glue everything down. So you can make very colorful cards just using white daisy and inks. We'll just cluster all these together on the front, and then I'll pop the sentiment banner with some thin foam tape. And then for the last step, I'm going to bring in some liquid pearls, and this is the black onyx. And I'm going to put a dot of liquid pearl in the center of each of the pansy flowers. And there's my finished card. Got some close-up shots. Nice and bright and colorful. Okay, next card. All right, so I've got a piece of white cardstock, and that's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And this time I'm using my blending sponges on the blending tools, and I'm going to make an ombre wash. So I'm starting with Blueprint Sketch, and I think this is Broken China. And I'm putting color down, but leaving a void between each of the colors, and then tumbled glass. And then after I've got color down, I'm going to start drawing one color into the next. So I'm going back and forth with the tumbled glass and broken china, and then I'll pull that broken china down into the Blueprint Sketch. And just keep going back and forth until they all blend together. The great thing about oxides is that they're somewhat opaque, so you can layer a lighter color on top of a darker color. Okay, so now I have a clear shimmer brush, and I'm just going to spatter shimmer all over this panel, and it'll start to oxidize. So we'll get that out of the way so it can dry. And then I'm going to bring my die cut machine in, and I'm going to cut the large doily from this set that it's called Fancy Doilies. I'm going to cut that in White Daisy. So we'll run that through. And I'm only going to use a portion of this, so I'm not as concerned about making sure it's all completely cut. It cut very well, though. There's a couple spots that didn't cut through, but that's okay. I'm not going to use the whole thing. And then I'm going to bring in blending brushes and Close to My Heart inks, and I'm going to blend with these colors. So I'm going to use lemonade first and get a nice wash of color over 3/4 of this doily. Just blending the lemonade all around and getting a nice wash of color. Then I'm going to bring Sundance in, and I'm going to add color around the edges. And then I'm going to bring Peach in and go in between. And then I'll go back with Sundance again. Oh, excuse me, with Lemonade again. Okay, now we've got color on the doily, and I have off screen, I've colored in these flowers and leaves the same way that I did the first ones with the oxide inks. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment, which says "You're amazing," in black ink. And this is from the Lovely Wishes stamp set. And then I'll fussy cut that out. It's quick and easy to trim that out, and I'm just leaving a little tiny white border around it. Okay, so now I'm going to take my doily and I'm just going to lay everything out on my card front to kind of get a feel for placement of everything. And I'm going to glue the doily to the bottom left corner area. And I'm going to just let the extra hang off the edge. I'll get that glued down with tiny dots of glue. And then I'll flip the card base over and then trim off the excess. That's why when I was coloring it, I wasn't concerned about coloring the entire thing. Okay, now I have a card base and we can start building the card. So we'll put that colored base down with Tombow tape runner and sentiment up in the upper right corner with Tombow, and then each of the leaves and florals with some glue. We'll just make a cluster down in the bottom left corner. I'll layer this flower together and kind of stagger the petals. And then add the center. And to finish it off, I'm going to add some clear sparkles to the center of the flower. And there's my finished card. I love that. The yellow colors on that doily. So bright and cheerful. Okay, last card, I'm going to use Academiarose and then the postage frames thin cuts. Okay, so I've loaded the rose stamp into my MISTI. This is Academiarose. And I've got a piece of white daisy cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to ink up my rose image in Mink. We'll stamp that out, and then I'll do it again. I want 2 of these. Okay, so we skipped ahead. I have my 2 stamped out. And then my next favorite method of adding color is the tri-blend markers. These are so easy to work with, and you get lots to choose from. Each color has a light, medium, and dark, so each marker is 3 different colors, but they're all in the same color family, so it's easy to blend them together. So I'm going to take one of these stamped images, and I'm going to color the flowers, and then I'll be fussy cutting them. Okay, so the basic workings, I've sped this up super fast, is to start with your light and then go to your dark and add some details and interest and shading, and then you go to your medium, and then you go back to your light, and just keep going back and forth until you like what you see. Okay, so now I have everything colored in and cut out, and I'm going to add a wash of color all around the flowers. So I've got a blending brush and Carolina ink, and I'm just going to add some color. I decided I needed a larger blending brush to cover more area. So I'm just blending this blue around the floral image. Just to add a little extra touch and color to the image. Okay. So I will make a list of all the supplies that I use for all these cards with links, and they'll be in the description below. And make sure you check out the playlist at the end of this video to see all of the other videos. I'll link all the videos for all the other Makers with Heart, and you can see all the other cool things they've done to add color. Okay, so I've cut out the postage frame thin cut with white daisy, and then I've done it 2 more times, and I'm going to stack them to add some dimension to my frame. Okay, so I'm just gluing them together. So now we're ready to go here. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment that says "To a Sweet Friend" on that card front. So I'm excited to see what the other Makers with Heart have chosen to show us their methods for adding color. There are so many different options, and these are just a few. I have lots of favorites. Okay, so basic assembly of the card, and we'll add that frame, and then I'm going to pop those 2 colored roses with some thin foam tape. And for the last step, I'm going to add some clear shimmer to my roses. So I'm just going to paint some of that clear shimmer brush on them to add some sparkle and shine. And I'll have some close-up shots in a second. So these are all my cards, and they all started with white. So again, don't forget to click on the playlist at the end to see all the other videos. And I appreciate you watching my video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be able to find all of my videos. And thanks for watching.